have a confession. My minimalist makeup collection has exploded. I started with a small collection of makeup about this size for about 2 years. Over the last 6 months, my collection grew to this size of a bin, and then it exploded into this tub. I'm gonna go through my entire makeup collection. We're gonna throw away the old things, open up some of the new things that I haven't even opened yet, organize it into my new makeup organizer. Everything will be so much easier to find. It's time to declutter this minimalist makeup collection that has grown out of control. I know for many of you, this isn't a huge makeup collection, but for me, this is incredibly overwhelming. I'm going to declutter what I'm really not using and just stick with the things that I absolutely love. I have fallen in love with some more makeup this year than I ever thought I would. I need to thin this out, get it organized, and get it cleaned up. Okay, I've got this somewhat organized into categories, so let's go through each category one by one. I'm going to start with lip products. Here are 2 Phantom lip colors that I absolutely love. I discovered them this year. It's the Hourglass Phantom Lip Balm. Love them both. The lighter one is in mist and the darker one is in mauve, which is really more of a red color, but it's a beautiful muted red. Love them both. I love the texture of them both. Usually one of them is riding around in my purse. They're super hydrating. They're definitely keepers. This is the Superstar Lips, definitely a well-loved product, almost finished, by Charlotte Tilbury. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and I'm also going to throw this into one of my purses or my backpack because this is almost finished, and I do have a backup somewhere. This was one of the Chantecaille collections, and you know, it's their spring collection, and I just really don't like this color on me. It's a little bit too orange. It's not very flattering. It's called Meadow. I thought I would like it a lot better than I do. I think I'm going to clean it up, and I wonder if my niece might like to try this. This is the Perricone MD. They're no makeup sticks. Lip color in 9E1, and I will find the name and put it below. It's really pretty. It's one of my favorite kind of mauve-y type colors. Real sheer, very pretty color. So this is definitely a keeper. It reminds me a lot of the Clinique Surprise, also a mauve type color. If you have been watching my channel, you know that I love mauve lipsticks. Both very sheer, very beautiful colors. I've used the Clinique Surprise for years, since I was about 15. And if you guys have been watching my channel, you know the story of when I stole it from my mom's in the medicine cabinet where she used to keep it before she went to work. Now, this is a product that I was really enthralled with last year, Euphoria's. This is their lip to cheek oil. But I have to say the staying power isn't as great as I had anticipated originally. Now, I did buy a second one, but you know, I have not picked it up and I haven't used it. I'm wondering once again if my niece might enjoy this because actually I've never applied it to my lips. I just dabbed it on my cheeks once, so I feel like it's still appropriate to give to someone else, and I'm just not using it. So I'm going to pass this off to someone who might enjoy it more than me. Rare Beauty came out with their lip oil and their blush, and honestly, as far as the packaging, I can never tell them apart. You have to read the tiny print on the bottom once you get them home. They're very difficult to tell apart. This is just a mini that I picked up, and this is their blush in Happy. And interestingly, this is their lip oil, and I believe it's also in Happy. It is. So these colors are completely different, in my opinion. That's the lip oil in Happy, and this is the blush in Happy. Very different colors. The blush is a little bit lighter and the lip oil is a little darker. Now I have to say I'm not pleased with either of these products. I was so excited when these first came out because I was hoping it would replace the Euphoria lip oil, which is really pretty. It's one that changes with the pH of your skin, but it doesn't last. So I was hoping that these would last, these lip oils would last. I bought several. I bought them for friends. They were really hard to find at the time, but they just don't hold up the way I thought they would. I'm definitely decluttering these. I never reach for either one of these products, even though this is a cream type blush. I just don't like the way it applies. It doesn't sheer out nicely, and it's just, for me, almost too pigmented. And then you get to a point where you can't really shear it out much more. It's a little bit greasy feeling, and the lip oil is not very comfortable on the lips. It feels very oily, and it just doesn't last for more than maybe like a half an hour. So I'm definitely decluttering both of these products, unfortunately, but at the same time, I don't want them taking up room when I haven't used them in about 6 months. Let's move on to blushes. I don't have too many. This is one by Charlotte Tilbury that I really enjoyed. It's their Matte Beauty Blush Wand. And I honestly don't consider this a matte blush. It's a beautiful peach blush, kind of a peachy pink. And I love it. I hate the applicator, but it's such a pretty blush. If you're still using powdered blushes, I highly recommend you try a few cream blushes. They're so flattering on mature skin. Another one of my favorite blushes, it's been lasting forever, is by Hints. It's such a pretty sheer color. It's kind of a highlighter slash blush combination. It's called Blush On, and I do believe they call it a highlighter. It's just a little bit of a pick-me-up to your cheek area. It doesn't give a whole lot of color, just more of a highlighter, but I really like it. Now the Tower 28 blushes, they pack a punch of color. They're for lip to cheek. I love both of these. They're the Beachplease collection. The darker, more mauve-y one is Party Hour, and then the really bright bubblegum pink one is called Dream Hour. I love them both. They are such beautiful colors, and they're going to last forever because they're super pigmented. And they look beautiful on lip to cheek. They're buildable, as you can see. The more you add, the more color you get. So pretty. Love them both, and definitely keepers. A new blush that I just picked up is by Merit. I've been wanting to try their Flush blush, and this is a lovely mauve color called Cheeky. I love it. Also buildable if you wanted to build some color to the lip area, and they sheer out beautifully. Definitely a keeper. I haven't even had a chance to use it all that much, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blushes, and I really love them all. Oh, I just noticed I have a mini of Charlotte Tilbury's Walk of No Shame. This is a pretty colored lipstick. It's a little bit more on the matte side, and it's a red lipstick. It's actually the only red lipstick that I have right now. A red always looks nice because it just looks like you're confident, you know what you're doing. It's such a pretty way to make a statement. You could just wear it with a pair of jeans and walk out the door on those days when you're really frazzled. You have a red lipstick on and you look like you're completely put together. And this is really nice. It kind of shears out a little bit. If you don't want it quite as bold, you can get a lighter look. Such a pretty color. Moving on to my ambient lighting powders from Hourglass. I already know this one had a little bit of a mishap. It cracked right here, but this is the ambient lighting powder trio in dim, incandescent light, and radiant light. And I already know that I've reached pan, and I've had, I guess my hourglasses I'm too rough on, and this cracked. So this is going to get replaced. This is the ambient lighting power in diffused light. I'm definitely going to be replacing this in diffused light because I like to put it over my sunscreens that are a little bit too shiny. It just tamps down that shine and makes the sunscreen look beautiful for a no makeup day. So let's look at concealers. I only have 3. The Bye Bye Dark Spots. It's a serum concealer. It's very lightweight. It shears out beautifully. It just corrects and brightens the under eye. It's a super easy concealer to apply. If you powder it down, there are no creases. Even if you don't powder it down and you put a really light layer, let it soak in. If you've hydrated your eyes, you really don't get much creasing. I don't think that there's really a concealer out there that doesn't crease at all for mature eyes. That's just my experience. I also have been enjoying the Hourglass concealer. It's a little bit heavier, but again, if you shear it out and don't use too much, it's a really nice, lightweight, hydrating concealer. Again, this one I do powder down. I've been using the powder in the Stila palette. This is their color correcting palette. And I use these 2 powders to powder down, depending on what kind of color correction I need, the concealer. It just sort of brightens the concealer and sets it if you have a heavier concealer that you're worried about creasing. The last concealer I have right now is also a color corrector and a concealer and an SPF all in one. It's the Dermatology Luminous Eye. It comes in this pump applicator that is not one of my favorites, just squirted out, but I like to apply all my concealers to the back of my hand. As you can see, compared to the other two, it's a little bit heavier, and so you have to be very light in your application. So I always apply sunscreen over this. I never use this as a one and done for the under eye area for sunscreen. And as you can see, I really like it. It does sheer out nicely, but the applicator gives you quite a bit in one pump. So just be really conservative on how much you dispense. And this color might be a little bit light for my under eye area. I believe it only comes in 4 shades. I do like it, but I have to say, again, my favorite is the Bye Bye Dark Spots, their Serum Corrector. I'm going to keep all 3 and use them up. I will definitely be repurchasing the Bye Bye Dark Spots. I'm almost out of this, and it just keeps going and going and going. I don't use the brush applicator. I always put it on the back of my hand, shear it out, and apply it with either my fingers, I tap it into my skin, or a brush. I have 3 brow products, and I know for a fact that I'm going to have to declutter the Gimme Brow. This is one of my classic favorites, but the color gray no longer works for me. When my gray hair was first coming in, it was more gray than white, but now it's more white and sort of a soft patina white, and the gray just doesn't look good on my brows anymore. So I'm going to back to a soft brown, and I picked up the Anastasia. This is their Dip Brow in Soft Brown. Super amazing brow gel. Just a little bit goes a long way. Gives a nice soft look to the brow, and it holds your brows in place. I also love the Glossier. This is their Brow Flick in brown. This is a product where you can use just the fine tip of this pen to draw in a single brow. And I use this if I'm doing a no makeup day and I just have a sparse area that I want to fill in. This is a great product. Now, the end of the wand is getting a little frayed, so it doesn't quite do the thin line that it used to. You could get it pretty thin there, but it used to do a really fine line where you could almost just get a single hair. It's a little bit thicker now. But let's talk highlighters. For mature skin, I almost prefer a highlighter to a contouring. There is one contour that I'm going to be keeping, and I'll be talking about that and why I'm keeping it. The Westman Atelier, this is their Peau de Pêche, and it's supposed to be for highlighting, but I actually use it as a contour. It just gives me that sunlit look, and I really love it. I've used it for about 2 years now, and I still have it. It just lasts and lasts and lasts. It's such pretty packaging. I'm keeping this. I love the color. I love the way it applies. It's just such a pretty shade of bronze and highlighter mixed together. It's definitely a keeper. I feel the same way about the Westman Atelier. This is their Lit highlighter. I'm almost done with this. I love it. I've used it for years. There's only a little bit left. It's an iridescent highlighter that looks lovely on the cheek area. Now it looks a little sort of iridescent here, sort of blue, but when you shear it out, it just gives a little bit of luminescence to the cheek area and just makes your skin just glow. I just love this. This is a keeper, and once it's gone, it's going to be a repurchase. Now this is the Girl Meets Pearl. This is one of the original highlighters that I've used over the years by Benefit. It's kind of a tinted highlighter. Reminds me of the Charlotte Tilbury, their Flawless highlighter, but it's a little bit too gold for me. I'm definitely going to be decluttering this. I used it for years without really realizing how kind of garish it is. It doesn't really suit my skin tone. It's a bit much, so I'm definitely going to be decluttering this. Like I said, I think my niece, who's younger than I am, may enjoy this quite a lot. Of course, Charlotte Tilbury's classic highlighter, Flawless Filter. This is definitely a keeper. It looks beautiful if you put a very thin layer under your makeup. Just gives your skin that glow and isn't quite as strong and overpowering as the Girl Meets Pearl. So it just gives a very elegant look to your face, whereas this is quite overpowering. This just gives a little bit of a sheen. You can wear it under your blush, you can wear it under your foundation, just to give your skin a bit of pop, especially if you're going out in the evening. This is a lovely product to have on hand. Now, as you know, I'm very minimalist when it comes to eyeshadows. I have a love for my favorite Natural Eyes by Too Faced. These are lovely satin colors that work well on mature skin, especially if you have recessed hooded eyes. If you put these over the mobile lid, they just give the lid that pop that they need when you have very tiny, small eyes or recessed eyes. If you do not have the Too Faced Naturals Eyes palette, it definitely needs to be in your arsenal as one of your basic palettes. And of course, the Tartelette Bloom. This is the Amazonian Clay palette. It's a beautiful palette of neutrals. I haven't touched any of these 3 darker shades, probably never will, but the rest of them, all other 9 shades, I absolutely love. If you watched my video on the 8 mistakes that you don't want to make with mature, recessed, hooded, or small eyes, you'll see how I use both the Too Faced Naturals palette and the Tartelette Bloom palette to get a beautiful look for mature eyes. As you can see, I'm all out of Funny Girl, and I tried to replace it with the Natasha Denona palette here, a couple of their satins, but it's not even close. In fact, I'm going to be decluttering this because a lot of these shades look a little bit too yellow and green on my skin. They are not flattering at all. So I'm going to be decluttering the Natasha Denona. I have someone I know that's going to love using this, so it's not going to go to waste. I'm going to clean it up, declutter it, because it's just not very flattering for my skin tone. Both Angie Hot and Flashy and Nicole Johnson recommend these single shade eyeshadows by Giorgio Armani, and those ladies know their makeup. So I decided to pick one up, and as I said, I absolutely love it. They may be my new replacement for these palettes because they are absolutely beautiful. The colors don't budge once you put them on, whereas powders can tend to shift around. These don't move at all throughout the day. It doesn't seem like they settle in fine lines. So for our mature minimalist makeup look for shadows, this may be the new find for me. On to eyeliners. If you watched my 8 mistakes for mature eyes, you know that a dark eyeliner is not something that I recommend for mature eyes. It's too heavy of a look. It makes your eye shrink in size. If you want to wear an eyeliner, pick something lighter in shade. Angie Hot and Flashy recommends an olive tone. I recommend sort of a light sand shade. Now this is Fake Awake. This did not apply well. The color is very heavy with no sheen to it at all, and the sponge is very difficult to use. It doesn't really spread the product well, and it drags on thin skin. I know it's really popular over on TikTok with the younger women, but their eyes don't have the crepey skin that we do, and anything that drags and pulls on our eyes and our thin skin around our eyes can't be good for our mature thin skin under eyes. So I highly recommend you check out the Aqua Resist pencil by Makeup Forever. It glides on beautifully, gives a bit of sheen, similar to the sheen in the Giorgio Armani, really brightens up the under eye area if you want to put it in your lower waterline. And if you want to darken your upper waterline, or if you want to darken the area of your upper eye, I just highly recommend that you use a great mascara. Don't use these dark liners. As I say, they just tend to close up your eyes. They're not very flattering for mature women, and they just give a harsh look. This will be being decluttered, as well as the Fake Awake. I will, however, be keeping the Makeup Forever. I love this application. It's soft, it's beautiful looking. Once it dries down, it doesn't move, and it looks beautiful in the lower waterline. This little minimalist makeup palette by Trio is one I really enjoy. It comes in a set of 3, and they're matte neutrals. And if you want a matte shadow look, that can be really flattering at times. This is a great little trio of neutrals. It's always sold out. So if you want to check out just a few matte shades that might look beautiful on mature eyes, definitely get this trio. And it doesn't come in too many different depths of shades, just these 3, but they also have one in blue and one in berry. I think that the neutrals palette is the most flattering for my skin tone, but it's an easy way to travel with 3 shadows, and they give you tons of ways to apply it. These little cards come with it, and they show you how to apply it in all different ways so you can go from a day to a nighttime look. Love this little trio palette. In 2024, I discovered color correcting because I was trying to color correct my scar, and I started with the Saint Demi colors, and I started to learn color correcting to color correct my scar area. These are extremely sticky. They were my first experience, but they're a little chalky and a little sticky. So I have moved on to some creamier formulas, which I prefer. Either the NYX palette, which is definitely a more drugstore and affordable price. And if you want to step it up, I love the Stila palette of color correcting colors because they're really creamy. They come in this beautiful packaging. They have a cover which covers the creams, and they also come with 2 powders. So once you're done correcting and putting on a concealer, should you choose to do so, you can powder it down and brighten the under eye with these lovely, very fine milled powders. So I love this, and if you're interested in color correcting, I highly recommend the Stila palette over the NYX, but someone did point out that the NYX palette does have this purple, which will correct yellowness in the under eye area. So it just takes some time and some practice to work with these colors. If you color correct first and then you apply your concealer, you will get a better coverage. You can also just use color correction, which is something I, as someone who prefers minimalist makeup, that's what I do. I do some color correcting, and then I just put on my foundation, whichever foundation I'm using for that day, and I have a beautiful look. If my under eye is particularly dark, I'll use a concealer, but typically I'll just do a quick color correction where my glasses sit. It's very dark and kind of purple, so I'll put a little yellow or a little green mixed in to kind of counteract that purplish red. I also have veins in my under eye, and I share this technique in a video that I did on the Hourglass makeup. I did some color correction first before I put on my Hourglass, so if you're interested in that, I'll link that up above. And if you're interested in color correcting, it's fascinating how just using the color wheel and complementary colors can correct any darkness, any redness, any purpleness to give a lighter and brighter appearance. Now let's go through my pile of complexion products and my mascaras. I have way more mascaras and complexion products than I typically have, but I'm going to explain why. I'm in the middle of taping a video on tubing mascaras. I'm trying to get a mascara, a one and done mascara that doesn't smudge, doesn't smear, and lasts throughout the day and applies beautifully. To that point, I'm going to be decluttering my 2023 favorite mascara, Tower 28. This has really let me down in subsequent purchases. It dries out quickly, it clumps, and I've also heard that from you guys. So this is definitely a declutter, and I will not be recommending it in 2024 unless they do something about the formula. A longtime fave has been the Falsies Surreal by Maybelline. Unfortunately, this tube is dried out. I'm not sure I'm going to be replacing it because there's so many more drugstore mascaras out there this year that I'm excited to try. So we'll see if I get back to this. And I'm going to be doing these tubing mascaras, and I have a couple drugstore picks in here. They may actually beat out the Falsies Surreal as far as fallout, because traditionally tubing mascaras have less smudging and fallout by the end of the day than a traditional mascara. So we will see. I'm going to briefly go through the tubing mascaras that I've picked for my video coming up. This is the Bye Bye Panda Eyes by Essence, the Tartelette tubing mascara, the Milani tubing mascara, the e.l.f. Lash Extender. Loving this. I've tried it a couple times. This is actually a declutter for me. This is the e.l.f. Lash Out Loud. This was not a great mascara. It smudged. I don't like the way it applied. It's kind of goopy. So this is a pass for me. And the brush applicator kind of scratches my eye area. So this is a declutter. A longtime favorite is the Benefits They're Real Primer. Actually, I'm going to be using this as a priming mascara for all the tubing mascaras that I'm going to be trying. This is an all-time fave. It's not going anywhere. I may have about a month left of this. It's starting to dry out a little bit, but even when it's on the older side, it still stays creamy and easy to apply. It's just a no-fail mascara. If you layer it up, you can get a really nice natural look, natural fluttery lash look. And if you just want to use it as a primer for one layer to help the rest of your mascaras stay put, highly recommend this mascara primer. The Hourglass Unlocked Mascara is a new find for me. I love it. Even though it's in black and I prefer typically a brown mascara, This is not advertised as a tubing mascara, but I've noticed when I wash it off, I can wash it off with water and it comes off in those classic tubes as a tubing mascara. Everyone said that if I was doing a tubing mascara video, I had to pick up the Thrive Liquid Lash Extensions. Now, I tried Thrive when it first came out years ago and was not impressed, but everybody says this is one of the best tubing mascaras out there, so we're gonna be putting it to the test. Also recommended by you guys for my tubing mascara video is the Cali Ray Come Hell or High Water. We'll see how Cali Ray holds up to the competition of these other tubing mascaras. The next mascara was an impulse buy during the Sephora sale. It's the Grande Drama Intense Thickening Mascara with castor oil. Now you guys have heard castor oil everywhere, all over socials. But I have been very hesitant to use it on my lash line except for tapping it in over my lashes in the evening. I have not wanted to apply it directly to my lash line because in the past when it's gotten in my eye, it's been very irritating. But I thought using a mascara with castor oil might help improve the thickness and density of my eyelashes. I've been using the Revive Lash and I've just finished this up. I'm going to be doing a review of this product coming up soon. So I've been trying castor oil, but tapping it on very lightly. Now I'm going to be trying castor oil in the form of a mascara. So we shall see how that goes. I also picked up 2 mini mascaras, probably impulse buys. I don't even remember where I got them, probably standing in Sephora at the checkout line. This is the Push Up Lashes by Pillow Talk and the Rare Beauty mascara. I have not tried either one of these yet, and I love the fact that they're minis. I just love trying mascaras because typically I wear a mascara every day, but I don't necessarily wear a full face of makeup. Sometimes just a lip product and a mascara, my skincare and sunscreen, and out the door. So curious to try the Rare Beauty and the Push Up Lashes by Pillow Talk after I'm finished with my tubing mascara review. All right, let's tackle Complexion products. I'm going to start with 3 that I know I'm going to be decluttering. These are the Trio Complexion products. They come with a highlighter, a blush, and a contour stick. And honestly, I just found that their colors are a bit too harsh. They don't blend well. They're very stiff and they're really hard to apply. Next on my complexion products are complexion sticks that I absolutely adore. They're perfect for mature skin. They're by OGEE. They have the contour collection and then their complexion stick. I have both. They were gifted in PR and I did a review of this during a vacation that I took and I'll link that video. It was combined with a video that I did on the lip plumper for the Zip launch, but these OGEE sticks are awesome. They give you a contour which blends beautifully once it shears out. It's very sheer. It's very light coverage. You get a complexion stick that also is buildable and super light coverage, blends into mature skin beautifully. I've always had trouble matching complexion sticks, but Aspen is my color. It looks really nice and it blends out beautifully with the contouring colors. As you can see, that just looks super gorgeous and luminous. A your skin but better look. They also in the contour collection give you a cheek color and a highlighter, which both complement each other beautifully. As you can see, these are great for mature skin. They blend beautifully and a little bit goes a long way. Complexion sticks are a nice way to also travel. I really appreciate them gifting them to me. They also give me a discount code, so you can check the description down below. Those are definitely keepers. Now, Hourglass is a new discovery for me in 2024. I did a full video on a full face of Hourglass. Love these skin tints. They're a little bit heavier than I would consider a skin tint, but they're beautiful, especially if you put the primer, the Vanish primer underneath them. Oh my gosh. But as you can see, they're a little bit heavier than a skin tint. I would call them more a tinted moisturizer. They do blend out beautifully. A little bit goes a long way. I applied way too much because once you shear them out, as you can see, they blend beautifully with the skin. Now I combine both the 3 and the 2 for a match for my complexion. So it did take 2 different complexion colors to make something that matched for my skin. That's often the case with complexion products. And the Vanish Airbrush Primer is a beautiful touch if you want to wear it under these skin tints. It just makes them glow, it makes them last. I did an all-day wear test on my video and they just lasted throughout the day beautifully. 2 products that I tested for you guys last year in my skin tints video and in my tinted moisturizers video are the Maracuja Tinted Hydrator and then the Ilia Super Serum Skin Tint. Both of these are almost done. I haven't reached for the Tinted Hydrator. You guys felt it was a really great match for my complexion, but honestly, during the winter months, it was a little bit dark and a little bit yellow. Now, once I get a little bit of color closer to the summer, I may go back to this, but if it ends up being too dark, I'm going to declutter it over the summer. The Ilia, their Serum Skin Tint is gorgeous for dry skin. This particular formula blends and shears out beautifully for a barely there, no makeup look. So I'll be keeping both of these. I may declutter the Maracuja this summer, and I'll definitely be finishing up the Ilia Serum Skin Tint SPF 40. Now I don't use this alone as an SPF. I always put sunscreen with it because I shear this out pretty thin and I don't get the coverage of SPF 40 by the time I'm done applying it. Another tinted moisturizer that I reviewed for you last year that I continue to reach for day after day when I want a little bit of coverage is the Tinted Moisturizer Light Revealer by Laura Mercier. This is such a beautiful product. It goes on super sheer, gives you a very light coverage once it's sheared out, super moisturizing. Absolutely love it. This is in number IC0 in Cameo. And the dupe for this, the Neutrogena Healthy Skin Glow Shears that I shared with you last year in a dupe video, unfortunately is no longer made. This is the perfect dupe for this product. So we're going to have to look in 2024 for another dupe for the Laura Mercier. Once you get these blended out, you honestly cannot tell the difference. They're both beautiful, but unfortunately the drugstore dupe by Neutrogena has been discontinued. So we're on the search for a dupe for the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer Light Revealer. So far, I haven't found one this year. I also tried for you guys last year the Laura Mercier, the regular tinted moisturizer as opposed to the light revealer, the Natural Skin Perfector with SPF 30. Honestly, I have not reached for this since I tried it for you guys. I've been grabbing the light revealer every time over this because the coverage for me personally is just a little bit too heavy. I mean, on average, it is still considered a tinted moisturizer, but for me, I just definitely prefer the reflection of the product light revealer versus the traditional tinted moisturizer by Laura Mercier. Again, I'm going to be decluttering this and giving it to probably my niece who will enjoy using it. Another product that I reviewed for you last year is the number 7 Hydra Luminous Aqua Release Skin Perfector. Not sure they make this anymore, but this product has separated. It no longer goes on very nicely, and as you can see, it's just kind of past its time, so I will be decluttering this. The last complexion product is a full coverage complexion product. It's the Second Skin Foundation by Hints. It does have SPF 30, and it just happens to be a great full coverage foundation and a good match for my skin in the summer months. It's got a slightly yellow tint, but it gives pretty much medium to full coverage once sheared out and matches my skin beautifully if I use a beauty blender. So this is definitely a keeper, and I've repurchased, I just finished one up and I've repurchased this. So this is always in my complexion arsenal when I want to reach for a more full coverage foundation. Now to see if all the items that I've decided to keep fit in my new makeup organizer. Let's see if they fit. So it took me a long time to figure out how to organize this, but eventually it all fit and I have actually extra room. There's 3 caddy spots in the back that are completely empty. I have some spots for some more tubes. All my shadows fit with a little bit of extra room. My blushes certainly have extra room. I also found a perfect spot for my color correctors, great spot for my highlighters. All my mascaras and brow products fit right in this drawer, and I have a drawer for my finishing powders and extra room for the airbrush diffused light that I'm going to be picking up. So all in all, this was a great pick for my minimalist makeup collection, and I have a ton of extra room. Now, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing because I do want to keep this collection to a minimum. I want to stay conservative about the products that I'm picking for my mature skin and also make sure that I'm finishing things up. So that's why I always am a little bit on the conservative side with my makeup. Thanks very much for watching and wishing you all a fantastic day.